Okay, folks. So, here we are. This is gonna be a little wacky because I'm just, I haven't really had a chance to totally prepare for everything that's happening right now. Um, I want to give a quick update on what's gonna be happening here with locally sourced and what's up with that. And so I don't really have a whole lot going on right now, and I'm gonna be in for this foreseeable future. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be digging into, I'll have to talk to everybody online. That's pretty much how this is going to work. Um, let's see here. We do have some stuff for people to catch up on. Speaking with some folks, we've got. I mean, there a lot of restaurants in town have closed. I just noticed that Bantam said that they are closing their main restaurant, but they're going to be doing takeout and delivery to a limited extent. So this is all stuff that things that you can check on Facebook as well. The Peterborough NH group and the Peterborough Community or yeah, Peterborough Community Information Network, I think is the name of the group. Let me try and pull it up really fast and um, see if I can get at that. Yeah. And then additionally, we also, yeah, Peterborough Community Information Network. And then there was also a private group that was created just today called Peterborough Cares during COVID-19. And it's just a lot of different resources. It's got a lot of tags in it that sort of allocate things to different places. Um, and I can just kind of go through some of the things that have been posted in there for folks who haven't seen it yet. Yeah, so here we've got the Bantam Grill. Their dining room is closed. Free delivery from Pearl. So they're both the same. To my understanding, they're both owned by the same people. So it's not surprising that they would have similar responses. But yep, so we've got free delivery from Pearl. Let's see here. We've got an update from Eversource. So I'll read this as they've got it written here. So, COVID-19 update: to lessen any financial hardship to our customers may be facing as a result of the pandemic, we have postponed customer disconnections for non-payment. We're continuing to closely monitor the COVID-19 situation and working to proactively address the concerns of our customers and employees. We are part of the communities we serve. We are a part of the communities we serve across New England, and as a provider of essential services, are committed to supporting all of our customers during this uncertain time. While our top priority remains health and safety of our employees, customers, and communities, while ensuring the safe and reliable delivery of electric and natural gas service, our customer service team is readily available to assist customers who are interested in learning more about the programs we have available, such as setting up a payment plan. So, we're getting a bit of a break here from Eversource, which is good news. Really, really need that in our lives at this particular time. And especially, we've got a state of emergency. We've closed all the schools. This is pretty serious. And it's really affecting all the markets. Now, like, you can still make it to, say, the supermarket and you can still get what you need to. There were photos up that I saw earlier today that they are restocking. I've been to grocery stores. It's still there. So when you go to the stores, you want to make sure, obviously, just keep track of everything that you put your hands on. And be mindful of who you're touching. If you find yourself in a situation where you shake hands or something like that, obviously touch elbows. Better solution. And yeah, it's not like we can't go outside. It's not like we can't do things. But again, it's not getting large groups of people together. Fortunately, we're lucky in New Hampshire. We don't have to deal with the election stuff because we already went through that. Other states are facing that, and that's national stuff. I'm not going to talk about it really too much here because that's not what this is all about. This is going to seriously affect everything housing related, and just about every event in town has been canceled, at least for the next month or so, including the housing task force that I'm on. But I'm still hearing about it a bit. I'm still hearing about some of these housing things that are going on. So I'm going to try and keep people up to date on that, and hopefully I'll be able to. I'm closing out on some work that I've been doing about affordable housing here in town right now, and I should be able to get that done in the next day or two, and hopefully I'll hop back on, do another video explaining what the deal with that is, because it's not particularly pertaining to COVID-19, but it's relevant, and it will apply to a lot of the discussions that folks have been having about the current available housing. And it also kind of gets into some of the nitty-gritty on fixing buildings that are in disrepair, what that's like, dealing with the town. There's a whole lot to it. So we'll get into that there. I did want to take a moment. I've been speaking with a friend of mine this morning, Nate Schiedler, and he's been telling me that they are seeing a pretty dramatic drop in the housing market. So he got in touch with me this morning and let me know that buying is 1/16 of last year's volume. It's this is intense. And this could be, in many ways, it could be depending on how long this plays out, it could be the type of crash that allows for people who wanted to get a home to finally be able to get it. There's a chance that could happen. It just, again, it depends on how well our response plays out. According to him, sellers are proceeding with business as normal. And you're not necessarily catching a whole lot of change there, but and he did actually sort of send me some graphics to look at that I will pop up on the screen right now, because it's a little hair-raising for sure. It's definitely, it's definitely a little intense. So let me pop this up on the screen here. So these are the graphs that Nate had sent over to me today. Let me just try and get this a little higher up so folks can see this better. Okay. So this is, on the left you've got what it was last year, 2019. And on the right we have this year. Now, clearly that blue line, which is our bars, it's just tanking. It's popping back up, but this could be problematic long term, because there's just, if everybody stops working and everybody stops making money, this is going to hurt a lot. Nobody is going to go out looking, especially if we're talking about holding back on utility bills, and there are people who are essentially not collecting rent. There's a lot that's being done right now in response to this. It's something we'll kind of have to keep an eye on, and I'm going to keep in touch with Nate about this. Hopefully I can find out some more. I'm going to try and have something a little more comprehensive rather than just sort of me pulling this up right now and talking about it quickly, because I haven't had a chance to fully dive into the details of this and what the long-term implications are. But, we'll have more as it comes. There will be a select board meeting this evening, and that's going to be broadcast on the town Ustream. So I'll put a link in the descriptions and comments for that. This is right now, I'm trying out this thing where we simulcast stream to both Facebook and YouTube. So this is just in a lot of ways, this is a test stream to see how things work, but I did want to sort of take a second and just talk about some of the stuff that's going on. Also, let folks know that this is just the streaming like this is going to be something that I'm doing more often. I know some people caught the DJ set that I had posted yesterday. I'm going to be doing more of that too, because this is, news isn't isn't necessarily fun. And I wanted to do something that was positive for folks. So we'll be, obviously please head over to our Patreon, support us there, and become a subscriber for as low as $2 a month right now. Actually, I think you can even do $1 a month. I tried to make it fair for folks and easy. But additionally, I'll be posting links to my Venmo, so you can send me, some stuff there if you want a tip for the DJ sets that we're doing, or you just want to do some direct support. That always helps too. It's a tough time. To get more support coming in will not only allow bills to continue to get paid, the ones that they decide they're going to collect anyways, and then also will allow for better and more equipment that can improve upon this, so we can have nicer angles. We can start incorporating more video calls where I can actually do remote interviews, because obviously going and doing this stuff in person right now isn't really a great call. So that's something that I want to target and talk to folks about. And that way it's not just me sitting here relaying stuff that I'm not an expert on. In a lot of ways, I want to use this stream as a way to just discuss what's happening for folks in a remote way while this is happening. This is intense. It's very intense. And I know folks are really stressed out. I know that the select board had a private meeting last night ahead of today. So they've got some stuff that I'm sure they've sat down and tried to sort out ahead of time before they go in front of public this evening. But everybody, I want you to please tune into that. If I can, I'll try and, dupe the stream here on my channel so that at least it's bouncing back over to Facebook. Maybe we'll do that. I don't know. I have to sort of see how that whole setup goes. Yeah, this is going to be, it's going to be a tough few weeks here. And a lot of this, students have moved over to home learning. There were some things that I kind of wanted to just discuss related to that, because I had run into students actually working at Greengrocer, and they said to me, one of the biggest concerns that they see, one of the biggest things they're, thinking might be a challenge going down the line, is getting students to continue to engage with the classwork from home. It's not going to be a simple thing here, folks. And I'm just, as I'm going through this, there was a graphic that got shared through a document. Let's see here. I can pull that up really quick and see it. Where did we have that? Okay. Yep. So we've got this New Hampshire Mutual Aid spreadsheet right here. And there are already currently a bunch of people looking at this right now, so we'll pop this up. So this has been shared to the Peterborough Facebook group, the Peterborough, New Hampshire Facebook group. It's been shared to the Peterborough Community Information Network. So here's this document. It's got a couple resources on it. One of the resources in it is a teaching online shift. So there was a graphic that got shared in there that I think is really important, that sort of it gets followed up on, because it details exactly the things that will help to deal with what the students themselves were pointing out as an issue going into a home learning situation. And I mean, and folks, I want you to understand, like, this is messing with their prom, it's messing with their graduation, everything. This is pretty catastrophic. So at least for students, we've never really been through anything like this. And I can imagine that the challenge for teachers also is going to feel overwhelming, to say the least. You know, it's certainly frightening, you know? Let me see if I'm just trying to pull up this graphic here that was there we go. There it is. Okay, so here we go. Got this up on the screen right now. So this was shared in the through that document that I just had up, and I think this is really important. This is online teaching skills. And I'm going to also try and have some interviews that talk about this too. So I'm going to talk to some different people, you know, parents who are trying to help their kids through it. Hopefully I can talk to some teachers, see what they have to say about it, see what their experiences are with it. Just keep checking in over time and see how this goes, because it's one of the things that probably matters the most in our community, considering how focused on kids we are here. It's just, it's a huge part of our community. You know, families and education, it matters a lot. So let's yeah, I'll just sort of get into going over this here. Move that over to the side just so we can see the whole thing here. Okay. So one of the main things that they mention sort of right off the bat is not becoming familiar with asynchronous learning, or don't expect all your students to show up in real time in one place and do it. You're going to have to do this spread out. You know, there's sort of the expectation that it's going to take longer for everything to get done, because there's simply more distractions. There's more opportunity to just have your attention diverted when you're at home. It can happen, especially for students who aren't, you know, they're not seasoned freelancers or anything like that. People who are... Oh no. Sorry, folks. Looks like we lost the video stream there for a second. But yeah, so we're basically, you know, it's... You can't expect that same turnaround time, essentially, because it's going to be way more spread out, and it's going to take a little longer for stuff to come in. You're going to have to be very specific about the instructions that you give, because there's obviously not a whole lot of, like, there's not a one-on-one back and forth or conversation at that moment when the assignment is given that makes it easy for every student to have all their questions responded to. This is a very different situation. If you're a teacher, you might all of a sudden have a million questions flooding in all at once, and you're not able to sort of address them globally with all of the students in the classroom the same way you would normally. So yeah, it's just, you got to be specific. You have to be realistic about your expectations. You know, we're talking here about don't be too open-ended. You know, there's no way for these students to bounce back and check in with you. So that's important. You know, we've got here to sort of be empathetic, obviously. We don't want to force kids to just be online doing learning all the time anyways. It's not great. You know, we want to still have the time and space for children to get outside and do things, students to do that. So, you know, if you're a teacher, you really want to stay up to date with it. If you're a parent, you want to make sure that your kids aren't getting burnt out, but also that they're still being attentive to their workload. because this is really, really, really dramatically different from anything we've ever been through before. And it's honestly, it's going to be hard to say that things will return to normal after this. This might become a very, very important new paradigm in the way education plays out going down the line. And something else to point out, okay, folks, this is really, really, really important. Here in New Hampshire, okay, Frank Edelblut has been chomping at the bit to do anything that he can to just disseminate public education and do it in a more, like, just send it out to as much private institutions as possible. Now, something that I think is really, it's pretty important for people to understand that this, so the Department of Ed just passed an emergency, they passed an emergency amendment to Rule 306.18. So I'm going to pop that up really fast here. And I think this is something that needs to get talked about. So we'll do it here. All right, cool. So there we go. We'll zoom in on this a little bit. Okay, so here we are. Law changes. Reading RSA is really fun. Okay, so what they've changed here to make all of the remote learning possible, okay? What they had to tinker with was they basically had to tinker with the school year rules pertaining to snow days and emergencies. This is something that we've already sort of had to deal with because obviously we have school closures from snow and ice storms all the time. It's a normal part of living in New Hampshire. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that this is like a lot of the things that would have kept it together or made sure that there were checks in place to assure quality control. Those are just out the window now because it's so there's no more submitting a plan to the commissioner about how the school's going to, no more plan. You don't need a plan. You just have to say we need to do it and you're going to do it. So there's no assessing the quality of how this is going to get done. So that's sort of part one there. That bit has just been ripped right out. It says, the next part that they struck from this whole thing is that for up to 5 days per year when the school has been closed due to inclement weather or other emergency, right? It could be anything, and it can be for any amount of time. It is super, super general. And they've added here that the district shall create a plan, okay? So it's not that the district comes up with a plan that they submit to a commissioner, the commissioner approves it or doesn't approve it based off of whether or not it meets a certain standard. That doesn't happen anymore. So you could have a school district that comes up with a terrible plan and there's nobody to, contain that. Now, and the other thing to keep in mind too is there are a lot of resources available. There are like blog posts all over the place that cover this and have just lists of different lists of different resources. Like for example, here's an article on Tech Notes that gets into it pretty deeply. Where you've got videos. Sort of, and they do list off a number of solutions here, different tools that work for different people. But the thing to keep in mind is that this isn't like nobody's creating any kind of standard around this. There's no rigid acceptance of like, we have to have a certain quality of education. It is now entirely incumbent upon the districts, which likely means just the teachers. Each individual teacher is probably out here trying to come up with exactly the right tool or way to deal with their lesson plan. They probably have to confer with other teachers in that particular group. So what a math teacher has to deal with is not at all what an art teacher is going to have to deal with, or a social studies teacher, or an English teacher. Everybody's probably going to have to run through different services. Some of them are free, some of them aren't. So that starts getting more complicated as well, and is something that we should probably be concerning ourselves with. You know, it's something to keep in mind. And I think, you know, I personally don't have kids, so I couldn't say. I would venture to guess based off of just conversations that I've had with some of the high school students right now. I mean, they seem all right with it. I think they are planning to see how it plays out ultimately. Um, Much like everybody else, all of our students are in the same waiting pattern. Word on the street is the virus isn't hitting children as hard as it's hitting adults or older folks, which is cool. Um, and to my knowledge, we don't have any reported cases in our community currently. Doesn't mean that there aren't. I don't know anybody in town that's been tested yet. If anybody has been tested or has gone through that, let me know. I'd love to talk about it. Love to get folks in just to sort of discuss that. But you know, there is definitely a risk when it comes to the education side of things. And a lot of other things too, that we're just going to throw standards out the window in the need of taking care of things. And it's honestly going to show us just how effective tools are. It's going to show us how far along all that technology really has come. You know, it's intense, folks. It's definitely intense. And we'll just kind of have to hunker down and get through it. But it doesn't mean, I was out earlier today. I was driving around. Everybody's still out and doing stuff. People are still going to the store. People are still hitting the laundromat up. But, just folks, please be careful. Just please, please, please be careful. So with that, I don't have a whole lot else right at this hot minute. I will put some more stuff together. Maybe I'll be back later to do more of this. Maybe not. When I say later, I mean today. In all likelihood, this will be it for today. And we'll keep up. Let's see. I guess we can really quick and just sort of see what's kind of happening in the world of the internet. Oh, something interesting I heard. Peripherally to this whole COVID-19 thing, I've been monitoring some stuff. I try to keep up with what's happening on Twitter, just mainly so that other people don't have to, and I can talk about it with them if they don't feel like going on there, because it's totally a cesspool, and I get it. Unfortunately, a lot of journalists really, really care about Twitter, and a lot of politicians really care about Twitter. So it's like, it's hard to not interact with it to a certain extent. So But this stuff does like state politics also get dealt with pretty frequently on there. Now, something that I had seen in a private group is that there is and I gotta talk to people to see if this is something that I can actually like get some more information on. So I don't want to too heavily report it, but there's word on the street has it that the Democratic Party just doesn't think there's any way to beat Sununu this year. Like, they just don't think a Democrat can win. Which is that's it. It's not good to hear that this early on, like in the process, for them to think that now. And obviously, a lot can change between now and the fall. And it all depends on who gets it, I suppose. But the thing about it is, like, you know, when I see something like that, all I can think about is the ways in which the state Democrats really they might get there and they might want to make really positive progressive changes, but it's, oftentimes you'll hear people talk about there's a huge difference between campaigning and governing. And I just it's hard to place exactly like why this happens. I don't know what about it, about New Hampshire politics, about national politics to a certain extent, but what I don't get is why um it's like party establishment based, and it seems quite often very separated from what folks care about. Now, it's hard for me to sit here personally knowing that, like watching have Bernie Sanders has done really poorly in the last few elections. We had last night's debate where he really let Joe Biden have it on just a whole slew of his terrible, terrible votes over the years, which was awesome to see. But the reality is that's probably not going to change a whole lot. And I bring this up because that still applies. That's going to apply on a state level here for us as well. It's going to be a problem locally, where the state party will likely, and it already sort of has, will completely rally behind probably Dan Feltus. So he'll get that nomination in all likelihood, as much as, I think folks get out there, you've got Volinsky. He's the sort of the progressive choice right now. We haven't seen anybody else come out. I know Molly Kelly said she's not going to run. We don't know if Steve Marchand is going to try and throw his hat in the ring. He's, he hasn't been very specific about that. One would think he might, but he might also want to give Andrew the space to run and hold that progressive value. It's also, it's hard to say where Steve might, I would have to check in on his endorsements currently to see if he's said anything specific and echoed Yang's endorsement of Biden. So we'll see how that goes. But traditionally, Steve has been more of a progressive voice in the state. And so I would say if he's not going to run, I would probably expect him to endorse Volinsky, but we'll see what happens. Point being, in all likelihood, it's going to get just, you've got the people who just show up on the day of voting. They don't pay a ton of attention. They just, they're working all the time, and they wait till that morning to look it up, and they don't vote in the primary. And so I don't know that like people will be particularly excited, or feel that Danfeltis is in any way so drastically different than Sununu, especially when Sununu is doing some of the, obviously necessary things to deal with this outbreak currently. I mean, it took him a minute, and he was saying some dumb stuff the other day in terms of not encouraging people to go out, and then it within 24 hours we see that shift, and everybody's really taking it seriously now. But I mean, if you've got people inside the Democratic Party, and the person that I saw share this is very is certainly involved, and would certainly know. It's yeah. So in the midst of everything, we've still got the silly like political calculus happening, and I think it's important for folks to remember, like, a lot of that progressive policy stuff is exactly what's happening right now. I mean, you're everybody is kind of like, so, oh, well, now that we need to, we'll stop charging for rent. We'll stop charging you. It's like the second things go sideways, everybody's a socialist. But it's only for this. And the thing that's so funny is, having Medicare for all really would have helped this situation. Having a fully staffed and funded CDC would have helped this. Having a government that cares about whether or not sicknesses spread throughout the country. If we had the checkpoints at airports when they needed to happen, we wouldn't be in this situation. So, and now, and even currently, there are people that are being quarantined that are flying into Manchester. It's serious stuff, folks. Very, very, very serious stuff. So, I think yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. And apparently, and it's like something else to consider too is like this. I spoke a little earlier about the housing market, and I showed some graphs. And apparently, as I'm sitting here doing this stream, I'm getting like more information kind of coming at me. That's like even this data is shifting. So like it's going to be tough to predict exactly what's going to happen here. We'll have to see what that 1.5 trillion does. I really wish that we had spent it in a different way instead of just bumping the stock market, because like who cares about a stock market? I mean, I guess people do care, but mostly wealthy people, so that's not me or a whole lot of people that I know. There's going to be a lot of rapid fire updating happening here, and I'm going to try really hard to keep up with it. I'm definitely a one-man operation at least with the streaming stuff. So it's and I haven't done this in a little while, obviously, and I really like, I woke up this morning and decided it was time to just kind of hop back into this. And that's why this is a bit scrappier of a stream and doesn't have quite as much like hard research data in it as I would normally prefer. But it's what it is. And I think we'll be, as things go on, I'm going to be able to really boost this up more and have more information. I am, I've got sort of the I've got a Venmo set up. I did get a Venmo set up. So for folks who want to donate to that, if you're so inclined, um, let me get that up here. So you can Venmo me at Carter HMND. That's CARTERHMND. Venmo.com/CARTERHMND. You can also hop over to Patreon, patreon.com/foragernh. Subscribe to us there. I'm going to be also popping over to, we'll be doing music streams, but I'm not going to be doing them through Forager because I want to keep the channels separate. So that stuff will be popping up on the Larry Folger channel. Waiting for verification on that. So once that pops through, which should be any minute now, we'll be able to start doing that. These videos, guys, this is small town stuff, and I don't have thousands and thousands of viewers. I don't have tens of thousands of viewers, which means that I can't monetize this stuff. Like, YouTube, Facebook, there's no way for me to go into them and do super chats or any of that. So I don't have those luxuries because I don't have the wide-ranging audience for it yet. So I really, really count on those individual contributions that will come through Venmo if they go through Patreon. That stuff is really going to help keep this afloat, especially when, I personally am out of work. I know a lot of other people are out of work. There's going to be a huge move, especially in the world of performers and musicians, performing artists. A lot of these folks you're going to see popping up on live streams like this. And this is going to be the way that we're able to continue to make money and stay alive during this time. Because a lot of us can't, I personally had a show that got canceled. I was going to go down to Boston this past Saturday, play a show, that done. So it's important to remember that a lot of people that have provided us the culture that we really enjoy and love here in our town, they're really hurting. With a place like Harlow's closed down indefinitely, that was probably one of the main venues in town, especially for smaller acts, to get something going. And they, this is going to be an issue. So make sure to support folks like this. Tip your mailman. Like, these platforms are going to be the way that people are able to stay alive during this time. And it's also going to be the best way for us to spread knowledge throughout and entertainment. So important to keep in mind. And gosh, I think that about does it for me right now. This is going to be a disaster. I've never done this type of streaming before, so I'll have to just figure out how to end this stream. Let's see. Jeez. Wow. This is no joke. Well, yeah. All right, folks. We've been looks like been rocking here for about just on an hour, so that was good. I hope I didn't ramble too much or say a bunch of nonsense. Hope somebody got something out of this. Please, again, check our local Facebook groups and all that for updates. And we'll catch up with you folks soon. It's been real. So take care, and hopefully I'll be back a little later with some DJ set stuff. So take care, folks.